guys, Johnny Avanti here. Welcome back to another video. And in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about fishing. And what the subject is going to be is a fishing cart or a beach cart. And this is a fishing mate fishing cart. It's all aluminum construction. When you do buy it, you get this handle that clips on. It's adjustable in height. And you get a little foot like that you could put underneath here, and it lets it stay straight up, so you can put a, so you can have a level surface when you're fishing. The other thing this cart came with at the time that goes in the back, and it's sort of like the hook, the insert that's here was a bait cutting board. And what the board had was, it was like a piece of aluminum, looked just like this, but it came up to here. It had a plastic table with a knife holder and a hole in it, maybe to put the bait in it, the cut bait that you already cut, to put in that. And I never used it. I lost it, actually. I took it off, I put it somewhere, and I haven't found it because it was a little bit too small to cut on. Like, if you have like bunker and it's about that big, it's hard to cut. If you have squid, you want to cut squid up in strips, or make them look like little fish. It's really hard to cut up there. So what I technically do is I just cut everything on the top of my cooler, and I just use a regular knife like this, and I put my a regular cutting board like that right on the top of the cooler, so I don't cut through the top of the cooler, because the cooler is really thin. And this works great. I just keep the knife and the board in there. The knife is a little dirty. It's full of fish gills and blood and everything. But this is just a regular kitchen knife, serrated, and it works fantastic. I have other knives for fishing, fillet fishing, fishing knife, but I only use this to cut bait, or I use a pair of scissors to cut up other smaller baits like squid and whatever else is smaller than a big bunker or crab. I can use a scissor too to cut up. What this fishing cart gives you is the ability to put a cooler. This is like a 20-inch, 22-inch cooler, and this cooler is mainly almost like a fishing cooler because it does have a scale from 0 to 20. The Fishing Mate does have a measuring tape. It's from 0 to 22 inches. So you can measure anything up to 22 inches. If you need to measure anything bigger than that, it's probably a keeper. So that's how you could technically judge it. So if you go from here to the end and you get a big fluke or a striped bass, it's a keeper. Everything else is just limited, like bluefish, Spanish mackerel, and fluke. There's a limit. I think it's 18 inches and above. So you would put it 0 to here, and this is all the way from the snout to the tip of the tail. Anything over 18 inches, you can keep it. If you want to keep it, it's up to you. You can go for a bigger fish because you can only keep 3, 1 striped bass. So fishing is kind of, hearsay. If you catch a fish, you catch one, you're done for the day. If you want to throw it back and keep going for the bigger fish, usually that's what I do. I don't kind of take the smaller striped basses. But the bluefish, I like the smaller ones. And the bigger ones, I throw back. But about this cart is made up of all aluminum construction, and I've had this cart about 5 years, and it's been pretty good. It's full of sand and blood and gills. I haven't washed it. It's aluminum. It's not going to rust. So that's the good thing about it. There's a lot of carts out there that are made out of steel. I don't think I would get that a steel cart, because technically over time it can rust. And you're going to wind up throwing it out. It's going to be heavier than this cart. Because as you fish and you bring more things with you on the beach, like beach chairs and, my tackle bag, this is very heavy. I have all my reels in here, weights, lures, hooks, my tackle box, all kinds of stuff. And usually what I'll do is when I start fishing, I'll put it inside the cooler. And if I catch a lot of fish, I won't have room in the cooler with the ice, so I'll strap that to my back and I'll walk off the beach with that, or wherever I'm fishing, on a pier or anything like that. And so what a 21-inch cooler does for you is it gives you room for another smaller cooler. like this. This is like a lunchbox, and the thing's broken. So what I'll do is I'll put all my bait in here. Let's say I'll go to the bait and tackle shop. I'll get some bunker, I'll get some clam, or I'll get some live bait, and I have a live well for that. I could take that. Oh, you could just technically take the live bait, put it on ice a little bit, and then when you get to fishing, you fill a bucket up with water, you throw a couple in there, and they come right back. So that's good. But you know, you want something like this to keep your bait in. You don't want to keep it in here, because usually what I'll do is I'll put water and my sandwich in here in case I'm going to be out all day fishing. And you know, I'll put like fish rags in here, and sometimes I'll even bring like an ice pack and I'll put it in here just to keep everything nice and cold and fresh. And that's what I'll do. And then what I'll do is when I get to the beach, I'll take this out and I'll just put this on the sand. So what I did is I put a strap on, and if I have a lot of stuff like a couple of beach chairs, let's say I want to bring another cooler, my rod stakes that go on the beach, I could just, you know, hook everything up, tighten it down, and it stays on perfect, and I can just, you know, roll it on the beach, no problem. So when I first got this fishing mate, this thing wasn't cheap. This was $219. You can buy them used on social media, and the reason why I bought it is because we were going to the beach. We had so much stuff. I didn't want to carry, so I just, you know what, I'm just gonna buy this, put everything in here, and we're good. And we had fishing rods, we were gonna fish. But when we got to the beach, we had a rude awakening. Because this fishing cart originally came with these wheels. Okay, now these are really good wheels. They're good plastic, they're rubbery, they're soft. This is the axle it comes with. You can blow these up a little bit, but these are good for like tarmac like this, or for a fishing pier, or anything that's like a hard surface, a hard gravel surface, maybe even compact hard sand. But on soft sand, these are not going to do you any good. You might as well just carry everything, because you're going to wind up dragging this, and it's harder to drag this than it is to just carry it. You know what I mean? So these tires, I mean, they're rated for a lot of weight. I mean, you could sit like somebody on this cooler and take them around, because they're just so strong. I think each tire can do like 375 pounds together. So that's a lot. But it's not good for the beach. So what I did is I was looking for an alternative, and what I came across was this Wheeleez rubber tire. Now this Wheeleez tire is specifically designed to roll on sand. So the only way, it was the best way for me, I figured out to set this cart up with these Wheeleez, was to buy a kayak cart. So technically you have like a Hobie kayak, and it has like a cart that people buy from Hobie, and Hobie buys these wheels and makes their carts, and it's like a cart, and there's two wheels, and they go underneath the kayak, and you can roll it on the beach, and then you put that cart in the back of your kayak. You can take a look online or watch some videos, and you see guys doing that. But the problem is that the way this wheel is set up, it has an axle here, and the axle goes through, and the clips, if there's too much weight, the clip breaks off. So you're constantly being careful on how much weight you can actually put on here. Because I did have a kayak, and I couldn't load it up too much, and the wheel kept popping off, and I got sick of it. I sold the kayak, I don't have it anymore. I'm looking to get a boat in the future, maybe for next season. So that's why I kind of got sick of these wheels, and they were good in the sand, but not great. I mean, because these are a little small for the weight that I have. So each tire can handle 121 pounds. So you get like 142 pounds combined. And this is a pretty thin wall tire. You know, there's maintenance, you have an axle, this comes apart. In here, you could buy parts for this. You know, if this blows out, there's a way of seaming it, or sealing the cut, depending on how bad the cut is. Like one of these tires is like 120 bucks. I pay a lot of money for that cart. I still have it home. I could probably put the tires back on, and you know, hopefully I can get rid of it and sell it. So these tires weren't really working out for me, because I didn't have an axle or I didn't really go out and buy any kind of a type of an axle to put through these wheels that will go underneath the cart, like this axle here. So I didn't want to take these wheels apart because I figured, you know, I would never know when I would need this axle and these wheels, you know, if I was going to go somewhere and I had to take these off. So I didn't want to sacrifice this axle for these wheels, and I didn't really want to go nuts looking for an axle for these wheels. So what I did is I simply fastened the whole kayak cart part to the fishing cart underneath. So I added a lot of weight to this fishing cart with these wheels, and it was kind of a pain in the neck, you know, having all that extra weight and, you know, dragging this thing around. And I just wanted to reduce the weight, so I was looking online and I came across these tires, and these are the balloon wheels and these are made in China. I'm not sure where these are made. The Wheeleez, these are made in China as well. Maybe in the same factory, but you know, just this manufacturer is here in the United States. You know, they sell big tires. I actually have another set of these that I bought for the fishing cart that was 16 and a half. They were just too big. They kind of wouldn't even fit in my truck because the tires like this wide and that big. They're more for like wheelchairs and heavy stuff, which would be nice if I could motorize this. I would be a lot more mobile on the beach, you know, because this place is where, you know, you may have to walk a mile to get to a certain spot that's a really good fishing spot, you know. But this would help you carry your gear, you know, versus putting everything on your back. And if you got two guys, there's two handles and you can easily pull this or take turns pulling it, and it's really not that bad. So I bought these tires from a lady, and I drove all the way to New York, and I was able to buy these balloon wheels for 40 bucks. I paid $180 for this cart. Hopefully I can sell it, recover some of my money from that. These tires are actually working out as good as these tires, and these tires are thicker walls than these tires. This balloon wheel also has 121 pound capacity. Now I'm not sure if that's because of the rim, and this is a much simpler rim because this has just an axle that goes through the rim. It came with the axle. It was actually another fishing cart that was sort of like a hand truck, and these wheels are behind it, and it was just junk. It was all steel and metal, and I didn't want to like drag my my gear around on a hand truck type of truck. I prefer this because, for one, this has rod holders. It has 5 of them, 3 in the back, 3 on this side. And what I usually do is when I set up my rods, I'll put it in these rod holders, and I set the rod up in these rod holders. And it's so much easier having these rod holders. And you could actually put other things in here, but I just bring 5 rods technically, or 4 sometimes, and I put them all in here, and it just works out great. And I'll show you. I'll throw a rod in here and we'll look at it later. So technically this wheel is a much simpler design, much cheaper. You could buy these online on Amazon. You know, you could check out the link I have below, Amazon. And if you want to buy the balloon wheels or the Wheeleez, you could buy them. You can buy this fishing mate fishing cart online too. They sell them. There's other different brands. There's one fishing cart that's a little bigger than this, which is better because, you know, I think it's a little wider and longer, and you could just fit more stuff. You know, you could put like maybe a bigger cooler, or you could put this little cooler and your tackle box behind it, which would be fantastic. But I'm pretty comfortable with this setup. You know, it's a compact cart. It fits in my truck nice, and it's perfect. You know, it's a perfect length. For storage, all you do is, you know, take this handle off, take the leg off. I put everything in the fish box, and you know, it's much easier to take the wheels off, and I just stow it away, and the next year I'll take it out when the weather's good. But if you take a look at both of these wheels, I mean, they're technically the same. The Wheeleez are flatter for sure, and these are more concave, more like a rounded tire. And you know, so their theory is that having a flatter surface will make it roll in the sand better, and having worked with both of these tires, I find that the balloon wheel rolls on the sand as good as the Wheeleez. The Wheeleez, being a wider tire, because all I can really do is let out more air, and I may get a little more surface area, you know, meaning this being flat and this being a little more rounded. So I guess the reason why they made this rounded was to make it a more all-purpose tire, where you can take this tire on tarmac where it's hotter. Let's say, for instance, you know, you're out in the sun, it's 85 degrees, all you have is these tires, and you got to roll over a parking lot like this, and the blacktop is 120 degrees. You know, these tires may have a problem, you know, being thin. You know, they may heat up and could technically melt, or, you know, come apart, or something can happen to them, where this is a lot much thicker rubber, that I feel more confident. And it looks like on the top here, if you look at the tires, you can see the balloon wheel is taller versus the Wheeleez. They're both technically the same size tire. They handle the same amount of weight, but on the Wheeleez tire, it just has this one little thin seam. And I think in extreme heat, if you're on blacktop or concrete or any really hot surface, you know, you may have a problem with this. You know, on gravel and grass, I don't think it'll get that hot, but on blacktop, I think, and harder surfaces, this tire will hold up more, because you can see how it's you kind of have this ridge that seems like it was sealed better. You have these thicker pads here that are on the tire, so this is more like an all-terrain tire, and I could easily roll this balloon wheel through the sand as good as I can with the Wheeleez. Now, naturally, the black tires that I showed you earlier are going to roll a lot better on hard surface. It's going to withstand more heat on the tires rolling. Then again, you know, you're not going to really roll that far. But let's say, for instance, I was in a parking lot and I was all the way in the back, because here in Jersey and New York, you know, they have huge parking lots for beaches. I'm sure in California it's the same thing, or like wherever there's beaches. You might have to travel a long ways, and these tires being so thin, you know, may not handle the heat as well as these tires. It's just my theory. You know, it hasn't happened to me, but I'm thinking, you know, maybe it can. You take a closer look at the Wheeleez, you see the axle, and it comes out, you know, and that's just parts. So for the cost of replacing axles and whatever it is on these Wheeleez, you could technically just go out and buy a new balloon wheel, or have a spare, and you'll be good to go, because this is like a simple construction. As you can see, I just used, well, this didn't work. I simply used zip ties to connect the axle, preventing it from the wheel from coming out. On the other side, I have this clip, and I'm going to try to get another clip like this, and it's just simple clip, you know, where with the balloon wheel you have to get special clips that kind of like connect to this, and you can't just find them. You have to go to Wheeleez and buy them, you know. So here it is again. They kind of like snap in here. So what I would recommend is, if you had these Wheeleez and you kept losing clips, is to go out, get a piece of metal or tube, a metal tube with an axle, let it run through here and drill a hole, and just get yourself something like this that, you know, the wheel's not going to fall off, because they designed that that pin in order to, if there's too much weight, rather than busting the tire out, right, you're going to pop the pin off and the tire is just going to fall off whatever you're hauling, either the kayak or a fishing cart, whatever it is that you're using these wheels on. Where on these balloon wheels, that's not going to happen. You know, if worst comes to worst, the tire is going to bust if you put too much weight on it. But I think they could hold about 300 pounds. So you figure 240, that's a lot of weight for this cart. And between my bag and this, I mean, I'm always underweight. Okay, so in order to put a fishing rod in here, the way I do it is, this is a 10-foot surfing rod. and you know, Battle 2 graphite. It's from Penn. So what I'll do is I'll put the bottom part in first, and then I'll put this in here like that, and then I'll go to the beach. Here's another rod I have. You know, this is a Shimano with a an Airwave rod, and I'll just put that in here like that, and that's how I'll roll down the beach. Now I won't have the reels on it. I was out fishing earlier, and the weather was just terrible. The surf was just brutal. I mean, I don't think there's any fish in there that will want to get waves slammed on their heads out on the surf. So I tried, you know, I kept casting out with this jig, and it was just a diamond jig, and I just kept throwing it out, and the wind just kept blowing it back in. And I didn't want to go in the water because it was very rough. I mean, the water was, the waves or the surf waves are coming all the way to the end of the beach. I was like all the way in the back with my gear, and it was cold. I mean, I was out here like around 6:30, and it was really cold out. And I'm usually okay with the cold. I'm lucky I wore pants, and I bought sneakers, and I did bring a jacket. Okay guys, so just to give you an idea on how easy it is to roll carts on the beach or on this kind of surface with either a balloon wheel or wheelies, you know, it just makes it so much easier. You know, if you're on the beach, like on the beach, these tires rock. The wheelies or the balloon wheels, they rock. To me, like they're almost the same. You may have perhaps a little more drag with the balloon wheels, just a little bit, because they are technically a little narrower. I haven't let more air out of it to give it a flatter surface. Like the Wheeleez has a flatter surface, so it kind of like sits on top of the sand a little better. But these wheels have worked for me. I've already taken on the beach a couple of times, and I've been okay. You know, I'm a lot happier with these wheels. So simply all you do is just, you know, pick your handle up and just pull, you know, just like that, and it just turns. You can do a 360. You know, it's just like effortless, you know. So if you wanted to bring a lot of gear, this fishing cart is pretty cool, man. I really like it. The other thing you could do is you know, you could just simply put this here like that, and you know, you have a table to do whatever you want to do. You could sit on it, which is no problem. You could bring a grill and put it on here, and it handles pretty well. You see, like the tires really went down because these tires, you know, I'm like 200 something pounds, so I kind of overloaded them, you know. So that's what these tires are made for. They're made specifically to go on the beach. Like I said before, I think these balloon tires are more designed for a little more than just the sand. Like the Wheeleez are basically like sand tires. So if you need something that's going to do a little more than sand tires, that's in between the black tires, the all-terrain tires, the Wheeleez, I think the balloon tires are it. You know, there's other tires out there that are like orange and yellow, and I heard they're really thin and they're no good. Like, you know, if they go on blacktop, they could literally melt. You know what I mean? So they're really cheap. So be careful with those because they're made out of really cheap plastic. These balloon wheels are made out of really good plastic. I mean, these are strong. The Wheeleez are made out of good plastic, but it's more like a rubbery type of material versus like a plastically cheap, thin material to give you the impression of a Wheeleez. Because, you know, the competition for everyone is Wheeleez. You know, Wheeleez is king in the sand business, in the sand tire business. But I found that, you know, the balloon wheels worked out pretty good. So this is Johnny Avanti, and thank you guys for watching the video. Stay tuned for the next video. Peace out.